Welcome to the Fantasy Aceball podcast. This is your host, Tim Kanak. You can find me on X at Fantasy Aceball. If you're watching, you know Doc Eisenhauer is already here at Doc Holiday Dyna on the Twitter machine. So you see two people, one podcast, showdown. Top.
Well, first of all, that's just a bunch of fake news. I don't know if you heard. In fact, I do know you didn't hear. Doc Holiday Dyna is no more. I grew up. I evolved into Charmeleon. Maybe not Charizard quite yet, but at Doc Eisenhower is the new tag.
You changed the tag even. I didn't know you changed the tag too.
I changed the tag. But here's what you got to do, right? Because I was like, man, it's not that hard for some goon. Well, all it takes is one crazy person to go take the old Doc Holiday Dyna tag and just pretend to be me, right? You know what I'm saying? Like, just like troll and like be. So I took that one. It took a long time. I had to come up with a new email and prove to X I was a real human for like 2 hours. Anyway, so you'll find me somewhere. I'm with Prospects Live now. Was that confirmed last week? I don't know.
You mentioned it to me, I think, off the air.
But I'm with Prospects Live now.
Yeah, you weren't allowed to talk about it on the podcast yet because it was like the next day announcement thing, and you didn't want to steal. I mean, you didn't want to steal Ross's thunder.
Okay, yeah. So yeah, it's just we're kind of scout the stat line. Prospects Live. We're kind of brothers now, and so the podcast is kind of up in the air of like who owns it or what's going on with that. But I'm writing Sunday Smoke articles where I just give you fantasy genius. Mostly, frankly, during the season, we'll be focused on major leaguers. So if you want to actually learn how to win now in Dynasty or win your redraft leagues, it's like a really good resource and probably your only major league resource on Prospects Live since they're so Dynasty focused.
Yeah, nice.
Prospects focused.
That is awesome because now you're on both sides, really, because you're going to be focusing on the prospects here, focusing on the other stuff there. It's going to keep you sharp, man. You're going to be like a samurai sword. You're going to be honed in all ways possible. There you go. So what we're going to talk about to start this off, I got another game that I saw last week, and I've been trying to hit the Saturday games mostly because the Saturday games usually have the best prospects, like the best pitchers. Usually your best pitchers are going to pitch in A-ball are going to pitch every Friday or Saturday. You're not going to get the best pitchers on like a Wednesday most of the time because they usually pitch once a week in A-ball. They're not trying to stretch out to be like once every 5-day guys. So this week I checked out the Marlins.
Do they do that? Is that for fans? Like, is that to get people in the park on Friday and Saturday nights?
Yeah, I would say that a lot of that is for fans. I'd say some of it is also for scouts. So scouts aren't like, going to games that don't really matter. Because a lot of these minor league games, like the first game that I went to last week was actually pretty crowded, but this week there was like 200 people there and like 10% of the crowd was scouts. So like, that's kind of what happens at some of the minor league games as the season goes on, but it also kind of depends on who's playing, I guess, because we had the Cardinals last time. Marlins aren't, don't have as big of a fan base, even though the Marlins A-ball team is full of ballers. And I didn't even get to see them all. And this is the crazy thing. I've seen the Marlins since Dylan Head has been a Marlin. I've probably gone to like 5 or 6 Marlins minor league games, and I have not caught him yet. It's like every time I go, he's just not in the lineup for whatever reason. And I'm like, what's going on here? I can't see Dylan Head. I don't know why. I'm just not allowed. I
would like to see him. He seems like he's got dynamic yet volatile upside.
Yeah, for sure. That is definitely a guy. But the main guy I wanted to see, I did see. I got to see Andrew Salas, little bro of Ethan Salas. But I'm going to start off here with the pitcher, and I'm going to share this right up here on the screen. I'm going to get up here some of my live video. So you can see here on the Tim Kanak on YouTube, if you're watching on YouTube, this is Kainer Benitez warming up. I threw his stats up there so you can check them out. From what I was seeing, because this kid was 19, he's a lefty, he pumps the fastball like 95, 96, good command on the fastball. Now, Fangraphs gave him like a 60 future 70 grade on the changeup, and it has movement, but he could not command that thing whatsoever. So this entire game that I was watching him, the changeup was kind of like all over the zone. That's where his fault was, because when he was very fastball heavy in the first and second inning, he had a lot of success. You can see lefty throwing 95, 96 at 19 years old. That's always going to play. But that changeup, there was a time in like the third inning, Doc, and this is what you get in A-ball. He threw like 8 changeups in a row and walked 2 dudes. And I don't know if that was like the coaches telling him, yo, just throw the changeup because you're going way too fastball heavy the first 2 innings. We want to see you play up this changeup. And it was all over the place, and he just walked 2 dudes. And then he had to get himself out of a bases loaded situation. So that was like that's just like one of the goofy things about minor leagues. So like you'll look at the stats and you might be like, this guy sucks. But it's like you're not going to see that unless you're looking at like the pitch by pitch arsenal or you're at the game. You're not going to know that, oh, he threw 10 changeups in a row, and probably the hitters caught on after like the 5th changeup in a row what the dude was doing. But that's Benitez. He also threw a slider, and he had like a 93 mile per hour like cutter type thing. But I think that the really like the fastball is like the bread and butter at this point. But he's 19, so he's got time to develop the rest of the pitches and try to get the command on the changeup going. You got any thoughts on Kainer Benitez?
Says he's still 18 here for a couple more months. Unique New York.
He might be, because usually when I look at he's 18 years and 10 months. Usually when I'm looking at the age, I'm just looking at like, what is their primary age going to be for the season?
Yeah, I get you. And it does show that his changeup is a 55 out of 70 on Fangraphs right now. So at the very least, that is his pitch. It's his go-to pitch. Not a huge expert on Kainer Benitez. He seems, this is why I'm always going to ask you this to get ready for it. Whenever it's someone who's not from America, which means usually, especially from the islands or Dominican leagues or wherever, their measurements aren't always up to date. I am seeing here 6'1", 165. What did your eyes tell you?
My eyes told me he's like 6'2"-ish, maybe 6'3", and the dude is probably like 200 pounds. He's a big.
Okay,
so big
this
dude.
is why this is folks. This is like
you can see him right here. Here he is. They're checking his glove. Like he's got to be closer to 200.
Sorry, can you go back there? Just I was looking at his stat page.
Yeah, let's get in here. There he is.
Yeah,
there's no way that guy's 160.
Look at those. He's got some junk in that trunk, man.
Oh yeah.
And he doesn't look super tall. He could be 6'1".
Yeah, maybe 6'1".
But he's probably more like 180 at least. So we'll see what happens. Yeah, I'll have to watch him more other than this random little clip of him walking off. But I'm not a guy who just counts a guy out. Some people, when they hear changeup first, they're done. They're out. That's not me. His other pitches don't grade out terribly from what I can see here. And frankly, when you're that young, it's like if you have one killer pitch, you just need to upgrade the rest of what you've got. Maybe add a new pitch. We were talking about Chris Bubich on Dynasty Dingers. It's like that was a crazy pitch. He just invented his slider a couple of years ago. Now that pitch was like basically a hybrid between his current slider and sweeper. And now he separated the two, and they're both way better than whatever that pitch was. So it's like their arsenals are going to change. When he's 28 years old, it's not going to be the same as it is right now as an 18-year-old, especially when he's this raw. So if he already has a killer out pitch, talk about Zebby Matthews. Zebby Matthews kind of became a boring-ish prospect over the off season, I might say, because he was so safe-ish, but there seemed to be a lack of ceiling due to a lack of out pitch. The fact this guy's got a lethal changeup like that, just build up the rest of your arsenal and have that as your quality killer put away pitch. You're in a good position.
Yeah, for sure. I think there's a good player here. This is a guy that like everyone who's familiar with the Marlins org is kind of like, oh, this is like their up and coming pitcher. This is like the next guy that's like not one of their draftees because he was a Dominican guy, right? And like obviously, if you're a lefty throwing 96, that's just gonna play. So I think there's definitely a lot in here, but he was definitely like super wild, as you can see if you're watching some of the video. Like some of the change ups are just like way out there. Like, whoa. But interesting
Nice.
dude for sure. And
Dude,
so
sorry, before I know we got to move on from him. He's owned like this is the kind of leagues I'm in, bro. He's owned almost everywhere. It's so funny. So he's like a kind of like he's 3% owned on Fantrax. Yet in every league I'm in, he's owned. And I took over a team and I got him somewhere. So there we go.
nice, you ended up with him. So
Yeah.
now you know. Just ask me when I get to watch him how he's looking, how he's progressing throughout the
Yeah.
year, because I'll probably catch him quite a few times. So the next guy that I've got on my list here that I saw during this game, the one hitter that I want to talk about on the Blue Jays is Manuel Beltre, who's I feel like he's been around for a minute and he's still only like 19 or something. Here he is actually. I'll show his swing here, but he was 2 for 2 with a walk. He's kind of a shorter dude. You see him in the left right here as he's loading up. He's actually like way shorter than what I thought, but he makes hard contact for the size. You see he misses on that one on the
He's got
slow
junk
mo.
in his trunk.
Yeah, he's a stocky dude for the size, especially for a guy that plays shortstop. He's like a bigger size shortstop, like your Michael Arroyo type middle infielder. But he made good contact the whole game, good plate skills. I think he is a very good hitter. Manuel Beltre. And the funny thing is, I was like texting or like Xing about how his game the whole time. I was like, oh, this kid is on it. And then he ended up like following me after the game on the X. He's like, oh, nice. But
He's from
right now,
Toronto?
yeah, for Toronto, right now in the season, he actually has a 367, 457, 500 slash. No bombs, but you can't beat that slash with 14% walk rate, 17% K rate. So, like I said, I think he's a good hitter. I think he's going to develop more power. He's only like 5'10, and I believe he's probably shorter than that. His Fangraphs has got him at 5'10. This is like the opposite. He's probably like 5'8 or 5'9. He's a shorter dude, but he's pretty built. He's got that fire hydrant build you can see when you're watching him there. Now you see on the screen here, this is Andrew Salas. Andrew Salas was playing center field for the Marlins. And this is the second time I've seen him because I actually saw him at the spring breakout game too. But talk about young. This dude is barely 17. Like this kid should be in high school. And here he is playing A-ball, which is insane. What I saw from Salas is that he has an advanced plate approach, like a really, really good eye. For if he was 20, he would have a really good eye at this level. So for a 17-year-old, his plate approach is super advanced, lefty, built on speed. He is not like his brother Ethan. He has a ton of speed in his game. I actually saw him get in a rundown, and I actually have the video of it. I want to see if I can find it here. He got it himself in a rundown and then ran out of it, which is like usually pretty rare. Most people who get in a rundown, they're just toast. I got it somewhere in here if I can find it. But he got himself in a rundown and got himself out of it. And then Carter Johnson slapped a hit right after. That's the next here. Here's Carter Johnson. This is right after. You can see Andrew Salas right here at the plate. He took a walk, I think, in this at bat. Just really good plate approach for a 17-year-old. That's what I noticed about him. And then Carter Johnson has a really good hit tool. Talk about Carter Johnson. He had a really strong game too. Here's Salas giving out the rundown. Here it is. And getting back to first. And then Carter Johnson gets a hit right after. But Carter Johnson's a shortstop. I think he was a second rounder for the Marlins, if I'm not mistaken. But you see right there, right over the shortstop for Carter Johnson, going the other way. He did that the whole game. He hit opposite field the whole game. So Carter Johnson, really good hit tool. I don't know how much power's in there because, again, he's like kind of a shorter dude too. Whereas like Salas is 6'2", 180 as a barely 17-year-old. So he's probably going to get bigger.
Show us Carter Johnson at the plate. He's listed at 6'2".
Carter Johnson, let's bring him up. He's at the end here too. So here's Salas again taking a walk. Here's Carter Johnson.
His knees are bent, and when the ump was standing up fully, they're not that far apart.
And remember that ump is tall. He was like even height with Benitez. So I'd say he's probably like 6. I'd say maybe he's like 6'1". Maybe he is 6'2".
He looks longer when he's running there. Look the way he's running. You can just tell with the body language.
Yeah, for sure. But there's Carter Johnson getting that hit there at the very end of my video. But I was pretty impressed by these young Marlins hitters. They didn't really show a ton of power in this game, but this game, it was like 8-6 or something by the fourth or fifth inning. Like these guys were hitting around the whole game without like a ton of home runs or anything like that. But I also saw Abraham Ramirez. I didn't get a ton of video of him, but I've seen him a couple times now. I saw him back when he was with the Yankees, even. Uh, but he's one of those guys that came over in the Augustine Ramirez trade. He's one of those hit tool guys too. Not a lot of power, but Salas is definitely a name to watch. Uh, it's he might be more interesting than his brother, even, to be honest. Like 6'2", 180 pounds, barely 17 years old, speed, amazing plate skills, and he's gonna be playing not at catcher. He's gonna be like up the middle. So for fantasy, he might actually be better for fantasy than brother Ethan. What do you think about all those guys?
Yeah, I mean, he just turned 17. So that's insane that he's at professional ball and has an 81% contact rate. It's very impressive. 23% walk rate, matches his 23% K rate pretty early on. And then Carter Johnson's actually a guy I'm real interested in. And that's why I knew immediately. I was like, yeah, I don't think he's short, because he was one of those guys who actually he was like, I think in the running to be like top 15 pick. Like he went 2.8 signing, 2.8 million dollars signing bonus, which is pretty good first round money. He's basically a first round draft pick. If you're talking baseball language. And if he didn't go to the Miami Marlins, we'd be hearing a lot more about his dynamic tools. I mean, it's great to hear that you saw a solid hit tool, because it seems like he's kind of got a little bit of everything, but nothing stands out. So if his standout tool early on is hitting, I like to hear that, because that's harder to teach. His numbers aren't friendly so far. He needs to work on taking a walk. 16 strikeouts to 0 walks. He's actually been getting like he's got a 256 average. It's not horrible, but gonna need to see a little bit more there. But I'm glad he passes the eye test. And the idea was, despite him, he's kind of a little bit older, right? But 19 years old. It's going to be a year where we're going to want to see something popping eventually by the end of the year. So glad early on he is passing the eye test. He does look like a baseball player, 6'2", 180. That is kind of how you want them, right? It's kind of like a good baseball size. Then they project from there.
Yeah, the funny thing is he seemed like, looking at him when I saw him in person, he didn't seem like super built or anything. He seemed pretty
Mhm.
like lean. But I mean, he's a shortstop, so you kind of want that. But like the hit tool for sure looked really solid, which is maybe why he hasn't taken a walk yet, is just he is like leaning
Mhm.
on the hit tool, just getting aggressive in the zone. From what I saw, I didn't see him like swinging at any really bad pitches. It wasn't like Roderick Arias. Like when I saw Roderick Arias, he just swung at everything. But
Yeah.
like he looked like he knew what he was doing, had a good plate approach, and was making very good contact. And to me, he seems just like one of these guys that's going to be a doubles guy. Like I don't think even in his prime, he's going to be one of these like high power guys, even with that frame. You want to project that out. Oh, 6'2", 180 at 19. This is going to be a 25 home run shortstop or 30 home run shortstop. I don't know if we're going to get there with him. I think he's gonna follow more like the Marcelo Mayer path of like being more of like a doubles hit guy, which is good.
Maybe
So
we got it from now on. We got it when we find these prospects. We got to look at their fathers and see like how chunky they got. It's like, because some guys just don't fill out, and sometimes guys do. It'll be interesting, right? But at such a young age, I mean, hey, freshman, what do they call it, the freshman 30 or something like that? Was that the you
yeah,
put on a bunch of weight, right? So he's in his freshman year, more or less. We'll see what happens. There's lots of time ahead, but I would say out of those guys, Carter Johnson was the most, other than Salas with his brother being so famous, the most ballyhooed, to throw an archaic term at you. The most ballyhooed prospect so far is Carter Johnson, and we'll see what happens there. I want to pay attention to all those names.
I think Ballyhood is a little 1920s. I don't know if that fits into the 1890s Doc Holliday type vibe. We're getting now we're getting 1920s Doc here. We're getting Great Gatsby Doc now that he's Prospects Live Gatsby Doc. uh, so we're gonna get to the T10 here, and I'm giving you a couple extras. So don't get all ornery with me from the beginning, because I'm repeating my number one prospect from last week. And when I did the P10s with Welsh, I purposely avoided repeats. But Nick Kurtz has just been so damn good that I could not put him here as the number one guy again. This guy is taking the minor leagues by storm. I'm going to throw up here John's fancy little tableau again to show you how good Nick Kurtz has been so far. But Nick Kurtz, as we're in pitchers, and I'm going to pull up hitter profile here for Nick Kurtz so you can see how many barrels he's had. We're going to throw up Kurtz here, as obviously he has like 7 bombs already. He's hitting 367, 400, 817. The Athletics are moving Rooker to left field to make room for him. So you can see this is something that's interesting though. 70.6% contact rate and 42.2% swing rate. That's not great, but if you're making this kind of contact where you have a 90th an EV 90 of 108, just do it, man. Like if your 90th average exit velocity is 108, just keep swinging, because that's insane. What do you think, Doc? You said you had some comments on Kurtz here.
So I actually like Kurtz because I like these kind of guys, like Freddie Freeman-ish. And someone, I don't know, maybe it was you, but someone said Freddie Freeman, but more power. And I'm like, first of all, slow down a bit. Second of all, I got the question for you. Where is he playing? Which league is he playing in? And I almost forgot about it myself. He's playing in the PCL. This is like, if you're not paying attention, folks, and you don't know what the PCL is, it's like a pitcher's nightmare and a batter's dream. A lot of these places are just very friendly pitchers' parks, either high elevation or the smaller parks, or a combination of both. It made Estuary. This is how I'm gonna ruin Nick Kurtz right now. It made Estuary Ruiz look like a power hitter. I'm pretty sure that dude's out of the league like already. Hey, I hope the best for him. I don't root for these guys to have their careers ended or anything like that, but I'm just trying to illustrate a point here that Nick Kurtz, I do believe in him. Do believe he's going to be great. But I think right now it's looking like he's going to be a can't miss, 100%, lights out, 40 home run, 30 home run phenom right off the jump. And like it could be a situation where comes up, struggles. And even though the Athletics Park is also friendly, it's just not. There's just really nothing in base. It's basically the equivalent of playing in the PCL is like every game is playing at Cincinnati or Coors. So it's not going to be that.
Here's a little cold water on that, just a tad, is that the park factor for the Athletics AAA team is league average. So at least when he's home, you're getting a league average park factor. Now, maybe when he's on the road to some of these other parks, that may not be the case. So there's a little bit of cold water on that. But that is a fair point to bring up, that, yes, he is doing this in the PCL. So you can't compare Soderstrom to Kurtz right now, because Soderstrom is doing it in the majors. Similar things. But, hey, he is still the best performing hitter in the minor leagues right now. And we're going to lean into it because I've been talking about him ever since he was drafted, how underrated he is, and how the Athletics are actually like a smart team now and not a dumb team anymore.
Well, I mean, they need to trade with the Marlins or the White Sox or the Pirates. They need to get some pitching because their pitching is not there. Dude, you know what I'm saying? Like, let's do it. Like, because they could be a team. They're clearly developing bats.
Let's just merge the Athletics into Pirates into one team and see if they can beat the Dodgers.
They would. They would if you did it directly.
So number 2 in the T10, We've got a Tim favorite here. If you've been listening to the podcast, now everyone else is getting on my guy here. But number 2 is catcher Eduardo Tate with the Phillies. And interestingly, I heard a podcast earlier today. I was listening to Toolshed podcast, and Clegg and Cross were saying Tate instead of Tate. And it just made me think of the Wizenhunt thing that we had last week, Doc. And I'm like, I don't know if they're overdoing the Espanol on Tate on that one. I ain't never heard of no Tate before. I'll tell you that. What do you think? What do you think of Eduardo Tate here from Panama?
I'll tell you about them old coyotes out there. It's yeah, man. Hey, if your name is Eric Cross, I was gonna do like a Spanish version of Cross and Clegg, but I almost made it into my brain was being to turn them into Italian names, and that's not the same thing. So I'm bad at this already. I'm gonna call them Eduardo
Tate. The Inglorious Bastards.
Yeah.
Eric
Rossellini and Craigaci. It's like, yeah, I don't think that works here, buddy. Anyway, we're having fun out here. Eduardo Tate, yeah, he's been like underrated. Someone pointed out, like, the first time I heard someone say to be like, well, Tate and Salas aren't far off. And I was like, no, Salas is like, Ethan Salas. That's the much ballyhooed prospect. And the first podcast to say ballyhoo twice since 1927. Crazy.
Yes, great Gatsby.
And I looked it up. It's like that's actually when it was apparently the most popular was the early 1900s. Good job, you nailed it.
I'm a history buff.
Okay. But yeah, Tate. So seems like he's lacking weaknesses. Really, maybe he doesn't take as many. Yeah, I would say probably doesn't take as many walks as you'd like to see. Contact rates aren't unbelievable or anything like that, but the surface stats check the boxes. It's interesting without walking too much. He's still got a 378 OBP right now and 281 average, and like it's kind of consistent, relatively speaking, with last year. He kind of struggled a little bit last year, at Aceball, crushed complex level. So he's got a long road ahead of him. He's super young, 18 years old, but I mean, you talk to a Phillies fan, he's the second coming of, I guess, Real Muto.
Of Samuel Basallo. I think he's just following that Samuel Basallo path here. But this week, he was 7 for 23 with 5 extra base hits and 3 homers. So you can see here, EV 90th percentile EV around 106, pretty sick. And you can see this is probably why we're seeing this power uptake, even though he is not hitting a ton of fly balls, only 35%. He is pulling at a 48% rate right now. And we've seen that work for a lot of guys. So this is why we're seeing these home runs go up from Tate here at the end of last year and the beginning of this year. Because if you look at his first half in complex last year, he had like 1 home run in the first 40 games. And then like 10 of his 11 bombs came in the last 40 games. So he really turned it on. He had a good average before then, but he was not hitting for power. So I think he just started pulling it. And that's why we see this big increase in the power now here for Tate. I'm going to send this to him. I'm going to send this to Mr. Tate here on the X, and I'm going to see how he pronounces his name. Because I will tell you, you can go full Espanol. Because I asked Jairo Padilla when I was talking to him this spring. I was like, all right, dude, do you go by Jairo or Jairo? Because I know a lot of Espanol people down here in South Florida that they turn the Y into a J. I was like, how are you Miami here? How American are you? Or are you super Spanish? And he's like, no, it's just Jairo. He's like, it's not Jairo. He's like, it's not Jairo. It's just Jairo. And I'm like, okay. So I don't want to go here and commit to a Tate before I talk to the man himself and find out if it's Tate. And he's just like, yo, you guys are spinning this here. Number 3 on the top, on the T10 here is a name that you probably have not heard since draft day of last year. We're going to talk about a Southern Alabama boy, starting pitcher Ben Hess, who was the first round pick for the Yankees. Doc, he made his debut this week because he did not pitch last year. And in 4 2/3 innings, he had 9 strikeouts, 1 walk, 0 earned runs, 0.64 whip. What do you have here on Mr. Ben Hess?
I'm always just kind of like passing the injured guys off to others. I am intrigued that they're starting him off at high A, shows some confidence. They're throwing him into the fire, and he's rewarding them in 4.2 innings pitched. It doesn't seem like he had the best control in the world last year. 4.6 walks per 9 in college, but 1.93 in his first little games. We got bigger sample size to come. In professional ball is nice. I was actually big on Bryce Cunningham, which is like the other. It was the next Yankees pick, 6'5", 230. See how he's doing this year. Yeah, he's doing. Oh, this is so weird how stats work out early on. 5.73 ERA is gross, but his FIP's amazing, and his stats are really nice. So I'm still a Bryce Cunningham guy, and I'm glad the stats support me because I literally just looked it up on air. But I love Ben Hess being 6'5", 255, even bigger bodied. But yeah, from what I understand, it's just like a matter of innings pitched here. So you see in 22, he had 33 innings, 23, 36 innings. 24, 68 innings. Long way to go. He's going to have to build on that, get up to closer to 100 this year. He's a college arm, so it's not like we're doing another prep guy. They're going to want him to kind of come along faster. But hey, encouraging start, and so I like that.
Well, he has the size to add on workload. And the dude, if you look at him, even he looks like freaking Lance Lynn. Like when I see this guy, I just think Lance Lynn. Except he throws 99 miles per hour instead of like I think Lynn in his prime was hitting like 95. So he's like a better fastball version of Lance Lynn. And you're not going to beat a 41% CSW on that first start. So you love to see that, and you love to see only a 5.9% walk rate. So I think if he can rein in the command, that big fastball is going to make him rise through the minors quick. So this is a guy I expect will probably be in AAA by the end of the year, especially because the Yankees have lost a lot of their depth. Either they traded it all in the Juan Soto trade, which they traded like 5 pitchers for Juan Soto, or like Chase Hampton, who was going to be that guy, that like next up guy behind Will Warren, is out for the season. So I think that Hess is a guy that might be like forced up pretty quick here, up the minor league ranks. And by the end of the season, he could be the Yankees like number 7, number 8 type starter, like one of their like deep depth guys, because he is a college guy and he's a huge dude and he throws 99. So that's going to play. Like this is a dude who could probably come up and be in the bullpen right now if the Yankees like needed a pen arm down the stretch. Like, okay, just come up and throw 99 from the pen for us real quick here. And like, that's not going to be bad. So Ben Hess, what a debut, right? You can't beat that for a debut. 4 2/3, 9 Ks, 0 earned runs. And terrible, terrible camera angles because in the debut, the camera is behind home plate, like in the skybox instead of behind the freaking pitcher. So come on, minor leagues. Like, what are we doing here with these that terrible camera angles still today? Number 4, this is like a no-brainer, right? Which is why I'm giving you 12 guys today, because Kurtz in this one is a no-brainer. Bubba Chandler, right? I mean, come on. 4 innings pitched, 8 Ks, 2 walks. Dude's throwing 101 and a half, almost hitting 102 here, 0 ERA. I'm the guy who is saying Chandler's probably not going to be up until June. That might still be the case, but they actually sent Harrington back down. I thought that Harrington was going to get a longer leash here to kind of like prove himself as a back-end rotation piece for them. But looks like they may be making the move on this quicker than I expected, because I thought that they were going to try to save these Bubba Chandler bullets for the back half of the season. Like, this is a team with really nice pitching. And I thought, okay, they might think that they can make a run. Like, this is probably, they're going to do the Skeens thing, work them up slow, bring them up at the end of May, beginning of June, whatever. But I don't know. They might just be in a position right now where they're like, you know what? Screw it. Let's put Chandler in there. Let's just go for it and rip the Band-Aid off. What do you think is happening here with Chandler and Pittsburgh?
Well, I mean, they gotta bring the noise for the fans at some point, right? Like it's frustrating. I'm sure, to see such good pitching development, but still just absolute mediocrity everywhere else. And so, if you can't build a complete team, I guess bring up your most exciting players. I mean, you're probably going to see some Mike Burrows this year as well. I'm not sure how he's been doing so far. I should probably look that up. But Mike Burrows is ready to be a workhorse in that Lance Lynn kind of vein, as you're talking about. Not as thick, but he's a workhorse for sure. He's doing all right so far this year. 3.48 ERA. But yeah, no, it's they got a plethora. Oh, dropping big words on you. Plethora of options here. I mean, it just kind of boggles my mind, though. It's like, I mean, don't want to trade a Bubba Chandler, but like maybe trade a Bubba Chandler. Like from a fantasy perspective, this would be a good time to sell right before promotion when all hype's built up. Maybe like in real life, shop them a little, like, for a bat. You need an electric bat. Maybe, I mean, it just kind of boggles my mind.
In a dynasty league right now, you could get so much for Bubba Chandler.
And they need it. They need batters who, I mean, Connor Griffin looks like a lot of fun 2 to 3 years from now. It's like
you might be able to get like a Jackson Merrill even for Bubba Chandler right now. Like,
yeah,
in some leagues, you might be able to
maybe
based on hype.
I mean, you could probably get a Wilyer Abreu.
Oh yeah, for sure. I would actually take Chandler on that side.
Of course, yeah. I mean, like, and then I mean, from like Major League Baseball, it's a crazy thing because they're like, I'm sure the Red Sox, it would look bad for them to do that while he's mashing, but it's like, it makes it easier on you. The fans will still be psyched up because they love Bubba. But then, because they will love Bubba, but now you have room for Roman Anthony to come up, or you want to, yeah, it's just like a lot of options, right? So, I mean, I guess I should be an MLB GM is what I'm trying to say.
Oh yeah, just hire Doc here. You can see here, look at these CSWs. This guy has almost a 40% CSW on the fastball, almost 40 on the slider, and 44 on the changeup. It's just insane. He's only thrown 3 curveballs, 33.3 on his 3 curveballs. So that means he got 1 swing strike out of 3. That's not too shabby here, Bubba. Let's throw some more curveballs. Get them in. 3-pitch pitchers. Going to be better with 4 pitches. Next here, we've got number 5, Kemp Alderman. I'm going Marlins heavy in this one. Kemp Alderman is a former second rounder as well for the Marlins from 2023. And this dude has some big time power potential, but he's throwing up a lot of steals right now. Last week, he was 7 for 21 with 3 extra base hits, 2 bombs, and 3 steals. And I think since then he got another steal the other day. And it's kind of weird because if you actually look at Kemp Alderman hit and you look at him at the plate, he's a big dude. He's almost like what he reminds me of at the plate is like a righty Jock Peterson. And even like the steals that he's putting up right now in the minors is like Jock Peterson-esque, because I'm telling you, Kemp Alderman, he's got a 30 speed rating on Fangraphs is what his wheels Eric gave him on his wheels, and he's 6'2", 235 pounds. So we're talking a big boy here who's already got 5 steals. So I don't know if I'm really buying the steals here, Doc, but I do buy the hit tool and I do buy the power. I think that he's coming along pretty nicely here, and he's in Double-A. So this is a guy that could be up on the Marlins by the end of the season, because that roster, it's not that hard to get up on that roster, to be frank.
So the hit tool is the big question. Last year in 6 games, he had 39% K rate, 0% walk rate, so it was 6 games. But and then he had that, I think he had a blistering Arizona Fall League, right? He just kind of ripped the cover off the ball and mashing bombs, from what I recall.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah. And so, yeah, it's interesting to see so far. His contact rates are still not good. 66% contact rate. Again, this could still be enough to get him on the Marlins, because his power is prodigious. He's since he was drafted, it was like, oh yeah, there's 30 plus home runs in this bat, and he's a chunky guy, Mississippi kid. But yeah, will he make enough contact? And that's going to be the story. And the surface level stats are amazing right now in 9 games for Kemp Alderman. But yeah, he's going to need to keep that K rate where it's at. It's interesting. He's walking over 10% right now.
Yeah.
That'd be cool. I mean, if he can just just a little bit of improvements could go a long way.
The weird thing is this. He hits the ball on the ground a lot. Like his whole minor league career, he's been up toward like 50% ground ball rate. And then this season so far, he has a 58% ground ball rate and only a 25% fly ball rate, but he has a 50% home run to fly ball rate. So it's like when he hits the ball in the air, it's going far, especially, it's in double A because that's not, he's not in the best hitting environment in his place. But it's interesting to watch how weird his profile is because it's like, okay, 58% ground ball rate for this big dude. And then he's got 5 steals when he's like this huge slumbering dude. So I don't really know how he's making a play, but I just want to bring him up because he's been really good the last 2 weeks. And because I feel like the steals can be misleading if you're just like if you're just like looking at his stat line and you're not looking at his size and like watching video of him, you're going to have no idea that like this dude is like, oh, he's probably not going to steal bases.
Yeah.
So don't get too excited about the 5 steals here from
Kevin. Yeah, it's not happening.
Yeah. A dude who will steal actually, and who's a catcher, Agustin Ramirez, because he's actually got some wheels even for a bigger dude. So number 6 on the list is Agustin Ramirez, who's 8 for 18 this last week with 4 extra base hits, 2 homers, 2 steals. Ramirez, Doc, go.
Yeah, man. So this is the same old story. So if you look at Ramirez, he's kind of like the hitting version of Hayden Birdsong, who's crushing it right now. Birdsong had this thing where he would go up a level. His pitching, is different, but he'd go up a level and he'd do really well. He'd struggle, then kind of figure it out, and then crush it, do really well. And then we're seeing that with Agustin Ramirez on the hitting side of things. When he goes up a level, the first little bit, it's like he doesn't necessarily do that well. It's just he's a human being, and he takes some just takes some learning, and he starts becoming that quote unquote generational bat you heard so much about when he was a Yankees prospect. He's doing it again here, and it's really weird because he's got 2 home runs and 4 stolen bases, and the stolen bases are not going away yet. Despite him being kind of like a specimen, like kind of a bigger guy and a catcher, and he's still catching. I want to see I haven't looked to see how many games he's catching versus otherwise. And I'm going to have the answer for you.
He's got 4 DH appearances and 10 at catcher.
Yeah, man. Like they're not giving up on him at catcher.
No, and one of the interesting things is that the Yankees had been playing him at first base, but the Marlins have not done that. Since he's been with the Marlins, he has not played one single game at first base.
And even with the Yankees, he was even then he was still mostly catching. Like the idea is that like he's just like not that good of a defensive catcher, but it's like the crew. Listen, if his bat's so good that and it's the Marlins, so like if they could use him, they would put him in there, right? But like if they wanted this to go straight for that offensive jolt, but they must see something with his defensive capabilities, and if he can stick there, pretty crazy for fantasy purposes. This could be a real impact bat, and if the stolen bases stick around, like is this a real Muto kind of guy where he just gives you those weird stolen bases? Maybe.
I think so. I don't think this is a situation where like with Henry Davis, where he's just going to move off and like do weird things. I think that he's going to stick. He has a really good plate approach. I saw him in the spring game, and he was hitting, I think, 3rd in the spring breakout game. But the whole time and it was odd. I mentioned it before on another podcast, but I was like, Davis and De Los Santos actually had a good plate approach too when I was watching him. I think it's something that the Marlins are having these guys work on, is working on the plate approach, because I think that the Marlins are going to go for like this Moneyball thing with Bendix there now. Like they're obviously going to be like trying to copy what the Rays do, which means that they're going to try to get as much value out of each player as they possibly can. Like milk literally like every last like 0.001 WAR out of each guy that you can. So, which is why Ramirez is not up yet, because they said they're looking at their algorithm and they say, oh, it's not at the proper time to call him up. They're going to wait until they can make sure 100% they're getting this extra year of eligibility out of him. They don't want to risk losing a year of eligibility out of him. So they're not going to call him up until there's like no chance in hell that he could win a Rookie of the Year or whatever and lose a year of eligibility. Because for them, they care more about the eligibility of a guy like Agustin Ramirez, I think, the one extra year, than they're going to care about the maybe compensatory draft pick that they could get at that point. So, but yeah, he's off to a good start, just like last year, 22 steals and 25 bombs last year. Kind of see it repeating. And out of the stats on the screen here, don't get tricked, because these are only the StatCast stats. Not every stadium has StatCast data in it. So you see here, it says only one home run. He actually has 2 so far this year. He's got 4 steals. So you're not getting every single piece of data when you're looking at these charts, because you're only getting the StatCast reading. So you're not going to get every single data sample that we actually have.
And I'm seeing something different over here. This is the grand total for this year, or in total,
so right here you can see it's got 44 plate appearances, but he has a total actually of 58
this is delayed
this year.
This doesn't have everything in it.
And no, it's not delayed. It's that some stadiums don't have StatCast, or maybe maybe the StatCast was not working for a few games or whatever in one of the stadiums. So you're missing a few games of data here.
It says 10% walk rate, 25% K rate on Fangraphs. So
yeah, so Fangraphs has Fangraphs has all the data in it, but you're not going to get a 90th percentile EV on Fangraphs. Like you can see right here, he's got almost like a 110 90th percentile EV, which is insane, especially for a guy whose max is 111.8. So he's like living around the max most of the time, which is sick. The dude crushes the ball very consistently, which is important. That's more important. This EV90 is more important than your max, because you could hit that max one time and then never get near it again. But if you're doing it consistently like Agustin Ramirez is, that means that you're hitting the ball hard all day. Like this average EV of 90.4, that's pretty sick. So let's look now at our next prospect, which is a starting pitcher, Jack Wenninger with the Mets. This week, he had a start, 5 innings, 9 Ks, 1 walk, 1.80 ERA, 0.60 WHIP, which now on the season has given him 10 innings pitched, 16 Ks, 3 walks, 0.9 ERA, 0.7 WHIP. This dude, I don't know if you've seen him, Doc. He's big. He's got legs for days. Like this dude looks like he's on stilts all the freaking time, because he's like 6'4", but he's got big legs, and he's got the big shoulders that like the early 2000s pitchers all had, like the top of the line pitchers, like the Roy Halladay. He's got that look about him when he's throwing, and he's throwing like 94, 95 fastball. And from what I see, his best pitch is a splitter. He also throws a gyro slider too, but that splitter is what a lot of his Ks are coming on. It's pretty sick splitter. And last week he had a 20.5 swinging strike rate. So Jack Wenninger is a very interesting name. Not a lot of people have talked about him. He's kind of under the radar as a 6th-round pick a couple of years ago. But even last year, he put up a pretty decent season. He had almost a 20% K- walk rate at Aceball and High A last year, with a 330 xFIP and a 30.1 CSW. But he's taken it to another level this year. I don't know like what his pitch breakdown was last year. I don't know if the splitter is a new pitch, because I think I searched him in here and there's no metrics because he's in AA. And obviously we don't have StatCast data. Yeah, there's nothing in on the charts for him here. But I think he's a really interesting dude, and he just looked nasty. If you want to search up some of his stats and like see some of his pitches, he's got some pretty nasty stuff from Jack Wenninger.
Yeah, it's actually interesting you should say that. So we had Prospects Live's Trevor Huth on on the podcast for Dynasty Dingers today, and he brought up Weninger as well. And frankly, I hadn't heard much about him. He's not much ballyhooed. It's a six round.
There's not a cornucopia of information out there about him.
Cornucopia's mainstream, bro. Friggin' Hunger Games took that way mainstream. Although people probably don't, they probably just think it's anyway. $225,000 signing bonus, 6th-round pick, 2023. People aren't really thinking about Jack Weninger, but now that I got two wise folks pointing him out to me, and I got hiccups. It's good vibes. He's in Double A and crushing it.
Yeah,
14 strikeouts per 9 and 2 walks per 9. That's pretty good, man. I would love to know more about his arsenal. Might have to go and try to watch him pitch. 23 years old, perfect. Like a young 23 years old, pretty good time for a breakout.
Yeah, for sure. I hope the Mets learn to stop sending their pitchers to AAA. Whatever reason, all their pitchers get crushed at AAA. Sprout's been getting crushed there. Any pitcher that they bring up there gets rocked for what. Like I've been watching Mets prospect pitchers for years now, and they come up and they dominate at every level until they get to AAA, and then they just get rocked. So maybe they ought to do the Angels thing here, the Caden Dana, and just jump him straight from double to the majors when he's ready. He's only pitched 10 innings there, so he's got most of the season, I think. But you can't go wrong when the guy has almost a 20% swinging strike rate on the season so far and a 37% CSW. The dude is absolutely killing it, and he's got above average command and some really sick stuff if you check it out. So next we got here another pitcher that a lot of people probably have heard of. This is number 8 on the list, Parker Messick with the Guardians, who's a top 150 pitcher for me. I got him at 110 in my last rankings update. But this week, he had 5 innings pitched, 8 Ks, 0 walks, 0 ERA, 1 whip. Interesting dude. I kind of comped him to like a Framber Valdez, Sonny Gray mix match up type guy because he's like a shorter dude, but he's also kind of like bigger, like little bowling ball kind of guy almost. Lefty with like a little 3/4 arm slot going on. But his best pitch is the sweeper. He's got like really sick sweeper, and he's pretty interesting. That's where I think of like, okay, like this is like lefty Sonny Gray almost here, like short little dude with a killer sweeper. That's what he's getting all his swing strikes on, is the sweeper with good command. And that's kind of like what Messick has shown. So Guardians love those type of guys, and they actually develop those guys very well. I feel like the Guardians, when they get their high stuff guys, they never develop properly. You got your Daniel Espino, who just falls off a cliff. You got Joey Cantillo, who's now in the bullpen. Your high stuff guys just don't work out for the Guardians. But then their control guys, Bybee, Bieber, these types of guys, all kind of like come up and actually play up well.
Yeah, no, they're a weird organization, and a 6-foot squat bowling ball, like you said, like Messick. I don't know if he's actually super mainstream. I feel like the Guardians, despite being a pitching organization, pretty good at developing. I mean, they're not terrible at developing hitters either, but like I feel like everyone they develop on either side is kind of boring. Maybe it's because they go to Cleveland. I don't know, but it seems like that, right? Like Bybee's like this. Like if he was a breakout pitcher anywhere else, almost it seems like he'd be a lot more well known, or a lot more. I'm not gonna say ballyhooed, but something less mainstream than that term.
Warp 5.
I said I'm not going to say it, so I didn't say it. We're having fun out here, folks. But yeah, it's a guy who, like, he's not really on my radar, but I love the crafty lefties, and yeah, I mean, why not throw him up there this year? They probably will.
Yeah, for sure. Number 9, I've got another second rounder. We're very second round heavy today. We've got Cal Steven. From the Blue Jays, who I was actually hoping to see, but he pitched the day before. I was really hoping to see him, but he was a Friday guy, and I'm like, no, like, what are you doing here? But anyway, 6 innings pitched, 9 Ks, 1 walk, 150 ERA, 0.33 WHIP. And if you're thinking of how to spell Cal, if you want to look this guy up, it is not Cal, like, hey, white surfer dude Cal. No, he spells it like Cal Drogo.
Cal Drogo.
Thrones. So this dude, 9 Ks, 1 walk in 6 innings, like I said. 41% CSW on the sweet fastball changeup combo that he's got going on. And one of the things here, let me bring him up because we actually got stats for him. Let's bring him up on the thing here. See, Cal, Khal. Here we go, Drogo. Look at this, 6 pitches. This is what I love about this guy. 6 pitches, 4-seam fastball. Look at this. Out of 82 pitches here, Doc, he's got a 45.1% CSW on that 4-seamer right now. 31.3 on the slider, 37.5 on the changeup. Like, all these pitches are pretty good. The sinker is like, man, but he's got 5 other pitches that are 30+% CSW pitches here. And he's got a nice mix. You see, he's mixing these all in pretty nice, except for the fastball. Fastball, he's throwing 57% of the time, but all these other pitches, he's throwing like 6, 9, 11, 11. So he's mixing all these other breaking pitches in against the fastball pretty well here. And you can't blame a dude throwing 57% fastballs if he's got a 45% CSW on it. And it's pretty interesting because the dude only throws like 93. So he's just got like a really, he's got a lot of ride to it. Like, I don't have the IVB. I have not seen what he's got as far as the IVB, but if you actually watch it, you'll see it rising. You're like, oh, that's like Brian Wu, like right there popping up. You got anything on Mr. Cal Steven?
I mean, you stole my Cal Drogo line. I had to jump on top of you there, but it's interesting. I love a guy with a deep arsenal. It's great. Yeah, I mean, not too much to add other than it's we'll have to see how he does. He's 22 years old at Aceball, which is a major, like, okay, welcome to the show. Move him up. I want to see him moved up, like, frankly, like almost immediately. It's like that's where we're gonna see what happens if he crushes at high A. Okay. Now I'm interested. Now I'm more interested, and then double A, of course. Like, you do anything in double A, you can be in the show the next second. So Toronto has to earn our trust a little bit with pitching development. I haven't really checked in on Trey Savage this year. Let's see how he's doing. Because they just Ricky Tiedemann, just like a lot of that was health, of course, but not exactly what you want to see. I see Savage is having some major control issues right now. So Cal Steven would be a big story for Toronto in developing their pitching.
Yeah, you have to think too, like, he did not pitch last year after getting drafted. Do you think that messes up a pitcher? Like, oh, you haven't pitched competitively now in like 9 months or whatever. So, like, I feel like that's not always the best plan, to have the pitchers after they're drafted just sit for the whole rest of the year. Like, I'm sure they're not sitting and not throwing. Like, they're probably in a pitching lab or doing something, but it's not in a competitive nature. I feel like that's not productive. If I was a team and I'm drafting pitchers, even if they pitch 70 innings or whatever in college, like, I'm going to get them some play. Like, I'm going to throw them out there and see what they got. I'd probably be doing the Hagen Smith. Just throw them out there for a few innings, have some fun, get out there and play an A-ball, so I don't have to start you an A-ball. And so I'm going to start you in high A or double A next year, like, especially if you're a college guy. But yeah, I agree. What do you think about Eli Serrano, my number 10 guy, Doc? Eli Serrano is a guy that I saw last year. And I was like, oh, this guy looks super athletic. But I didn't really see him do anything when I saw the Mets play. I think I saw him twice last year and he didn't really do anything. But I noticed the body, though. I was like, okay, this dude is pretty built. And last week, he went 6 for 20, 3 extra base hits, 2 bombs, 3 steals. And this dude made a couple of like Gold Glove like plays in the outfield, all like both last week. But he's 6'5", 201 pounds from a lefty, and I know you love that because you're all in on checking out. Okay, who's going to grow into their frame? Who's like the next super athlete here? Like, he's got like super athlete build written all over him.
Yeah, I'm especially like there was this with pitchers, by the way. Like, it's funny. Like, people in my home league will be like, "Oh, you just love these little midgets like Caleb Durbin." I'm like, bro, I also love Bryce Eldridge. And then, like, with pitching, I'm like, here's the deal. With batting, I think it can come in any shape and size. With pitching, it's like if I see 6'1", 170, like Tink Hens, the whole time I've been like, come on, man. Like I don't like those kind of frames usually. Tristan McKenzie, another good example of like, skinny isn't usually great for a pitcher. So this guy, yeah, I would want to see. That's a great starting frame, especially as a lefty. But yeah, if you can put some, hey, if you can get it done, you can get it done. I'm a big Reese Olson guy. He's a twig, but again, I'm like urging him lift some weights. You can do it. I believe in you. Protein powder, and so I'll show you what I use. 22% walk rate, is not great early on, but we're gonna have to see a lot. I'm not really too familiar with Serrano, for being completely honest. So at least I had a lot of fun introducing him. But yeah, I'm not really, 22% walk rate, 22% K rate. Like it's good, but like we need more data is what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
Because the power and the speed look good, but what happens when he puts the weight on? I'm just not. Yeah, he's not someone who's super on my radar. But I like. Hey, I'll tell you what. 74% contact rate at low A last year, going up a league to 80% contact rate at high A in 2025. He's only 21 years old, but he's about to be 22. So hopefully he keeps crushing it. Put him to double A by midseason.
Yeah. One of the things to watch too is he's showing this power right now in Brooklyn where Ryan Clifford could not even hit for power. I think Ryan Clifford only had like one dong the whole time that he was there,
Yeah.
and then he got promoted to double A and went off. So Serrano is already showing power at the same stadium. So that can only be a good thing. I'm going to give you bonuses here now. Number 11, I've got Josh Cross with the Cardinals. This is going to be a Doc favorite because Doc loves Cardinals catchers and Missouri catchers. So we have here Josh Cross. He's actually a catcher and a first baseman for the Cardinals. So they're already playing him at both because he's been such a good hitter. But last week he was 8 for 20 with 6 extra base hits, 2 bombs, and a steal. And guess what? He already hit another home run today, and he has now hit 4 home runs in 4 consecutive games. Josh Cross, catcher for the Cardinals. He's got a weird stance because he's a lefty, and he does this weird like foot thing where his foot's out like Aristides Aquino, and then he brings it back in, but like pre-pitch, it's like and then he lifts it. So there's a lot of like movement, but he hits the ball hard as crap. So I don't know. I don't know if he's probably gonna have to change that stance like when it gets against better pitchers because there's just like way too many moving parts. Right now, he's hitting the crap out of the ball.
Yeah. I mean, I'm excited. It's nice. Like it's a fun profile. It's low A, and he's 22. So we got to see how he does as he rises up the ranks till he gets in my Jimmy Crooks wheelhouse of championing him week in, week out.
He's a 519 ISO right now in the season. That's insane.
High A's calling.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, he's a college guy, so it's like sometimes these college guys are just way too good for low A, and it's like, oh, well, we didn't know, and now we put him there. So it's like, but then again, too, once you put a guy in A-ball, you're there for a couple weeks. They're like, oh, we got to buy a ticket. Like, it's like a process. You're in the minor leagues here. We're not gonna just fly you out. We got to buy you a bus ticket to get you over to Springfield or whatever. But you can see I pulled up the stats here. 92.5 average EV, 105, 90th percentile so far on the season. He's just lighting it up right now. Josh Cross. My 12th guy, because I told you I'm giving you 2 bonuses, is an athletics pitcher. This guy came from Taiwan. Y.N. Lin. And I was trying to find out if he's related to Wei and Lin from the Cardinals, and I could not find that. I guess I don't know if they keep these types of records in Taiwan. It's not that big of an island. They're both Lins. They got to be related, right? But anyway, and they're both playing baseball pitching. But this week, 5 innings pitched, 8K, 0 walks, 180 ERA, 120 WHIP on the season now. In 8 innings, Doc, he has 15 strikeouts and 0 walks. This is a 19-year-old lefty, and he throws like 94 miles an hour. His IVB is pretty sick. I don't know what it is, but like when you watch that thing come out of his hand, it just looks like it's darting up from the left side. And then he plays that against like a pretty nasty slider from the left side. It just kind of slings in. So I recommend watching some video on Wei In Lin. Super interesting name here for the Athletics. So you at the beginning of the pod, we're talking about how the Athletics have like no pitching prospects, but they've got Wei In Lin, and then they've got another Taiwanese kid too. I think he was a little bit older because Lin is like 19. I think they've got another kid who's a couple of years older who's also off to a pretty good start. So I don't know. Maybe they're trying to infiltrate the Chinese network here. You've got the Silicon Valley, former Silicon Valley Chinese Taiwan connection going on right here. So they got the dude from Silicon Valley over there sneaking pictures back over for trade secrets on
maybe, but I tell you what, you talk to someone who's from Taiwan, they'll tell you that they're not Taiwanese. They'll tell you they're the real Chinese, and that's a history. That's a history lesson. You look into that, folks, and that's on your own time. But yeah, Taiwanese think they're the real China, and the big China is not the real China. It's a battle for the real Chinese. But yeah, in terms of his abilities, like we'll see. I mean, in terms of athletics, frankly, I'm gonna be completely honest. A lot of these Asian imports, they don't seem to have good shoulders long term. But Yu Darvish is not Chinese or Taiwanese, but he is an example of a Japanese pitcher who has been relatively durable for his career, so it can happen. But a lot of these guys, if they're not like Darvish is kind of like this jacked frame, right? I know he's tall, Wei Inland, but it seems like most of these pitchers, I mean, you can include Ohtani in that, right? Like, even though he's pretty big, like clearly not holding up as a pitcher right now.
Yeah. I mean, he's also hitting. So it's like, he's like a whole different scenario.
Yeah.
It's like, he's a guy where you're like, we don't even care if you're pitching. Like, if you're sitting there hitting, you just don't even care.
Just stop actually.
Yeah, exactly. So it is time for Doc's Huckleberries. All right, let's get them. Give me some.
Man, it's okay, man. We're over an hour. I got a shirt in Tombstone, Arizona called what does it say? It says, "I'm your Duckleberry," and it's like a picture of like a Doc Holiday duck it's like for a baby, for like a 2 or 3, for a toddler. And so my daughter walks around in a "I'm your Duckleberry" shirt. So kind of worked with what you were saying. It's so stupid. Like it was on clearance because they realized this doesn't make any sense.
Does the duck have a little Black and Mild in its mouth?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so. Yeah. It's a fierce duck. Robbie Snelling is my first Duckleberry. I used to have him pretty high. I dropped him off the radar, off my top 100. I think most people did. It looked like it wasn't happening for old Robbie Snelling. The stuff just wasn't playing like it used to. And then this year, so far, we're looking at a 12 K9 to a literally under 1 walks per 9. So, even at his worst, his walks weren't completely out of control. Even like four walks, in 2024 at AA with the Padres. It's not like catastrophic, but it looked like his stuff was really trending down, and the surface level stats weren't really great. But since coming to Miami, surprise, surprise, Miami pitching organization seems to be curing what ails him. What do you think about Robbie Snelling?
They fixed him, dude. It's actually kind of funny because back when Snelling first came on the scene and I watched him pitch, the comp that I threw on him was Jesus Luzardo. And I was like, he reminds me of freaking Jesus Luzardo. And then Luzardo was like flaming out with athletics, goes to Miami. They revive the career. And it's like almost like on repeat now with Snelling. I just hope they actually keep Snelling instead of trading him this time, because Luzardo's actually been pretty fire for the Phillies so far. So hopefully they fix him and hopefully they actually keep him because, if they're going to be trading Sandy, they're probably going to need to keep some of these pitchers at some point here.
Hey, Ryan Weathers is coming back, brother. It's happening. Don't deny the Ryan Weathers breakout. Okay, I know we haven't talked enough about Marlins and Cardinals, so one more Cardinal for you. It's JJ Weatherholt. It's like I'm going with some obvious guys here. We spent most of the podcast with the deep dives, but JJ Weatherholt, he's almost becoming boring. It's like, he's not going to wow you with 40 home run power or 40 stolen bases, but like maybe the safest, prospect here. He's in Double A already with an 80%, almost 87, sorry, 86, almost 87% contact rate. Doing really well, not barely ever striking out. He seems like he's got a well-rounded profile with one stolen base, no home runs, so he's not really gaining tons of momentum in terms of a prospect so far. But like, if you want to buy, like now's kind of the time here because I think it's gonna get crazy, and like I'm just gonna just immediately shift into Travis Bazana. Like these are the obvious guys, but if you're in a more shallow league or a redraft league, it's like, I mean, probably pay attention to these guys, right? Like Bazana, like he's got a 15% K rate at Double A. What? Let's see what his yeah, he's got an 84% contact rate, pretty great. And he's got a 460, what was it? 462 OBP, 344 average. And Weatherholt's got numbers like that too. So these guys, they aren't jumping off the page with like all these electric home runs like Nick Kurtz, but like showing crazy upside. And so I think there's this thing with Bazana because I find myself in it all the time where I just like overlook him. Like I want to rate Kurtz as like the number one guy from this class. You see what Bazana's doing. You're like, he's not like he's playing his way out of it. It's not like he's like Charlie Condon over here, really playing terrible then busting his wrist. Where you're like, okay, yeah, it makes sense to drop him a little. It's like he's doing great. Again, maybe it's the Cleveland factor. So I think Weatherholt and Bazana, it's really looking like a top heavy, but elite class from 2024's draft class. What do you think about those two guys?
Yeah, I think they're both right on track. One of the things to keep in mind is that neither of them is at like a superior hitting environment right now. Like, I mean, Bazana's playing in Akron, and you got Weatherholt playing
Cold.
in Springfield. Yeah, so it's cold at both of those places right now. They're both in the Midwest. You're not in the mountains. You're not high up. You don't have sea winds coming, blowing balls out. So they don't have like any ballpark factors helping them right now. So I think right now what you're seeing is just really good hitting from both of them. And as the summer comes along and it gets warmer, they're probably going to hit better. That's just what's going to happen with guys like this when you're playing in Double A, and especially like in the sense and in the teams that play in Middle America. It's tougher, and pitchers usually perform better in those leagues, and hitters usually perform worse. And you'll see as soon as those guys move to AAA or they move to different leagues, all of a sudden stats start ballooning. You can see that for like any of the Cardinals hitters when they were in AA and then they come up to AAA, you'll just see them instantly jump in power production when they make that jump. So it's just something to watch. That like I wouldn't be too concerned if you don't see either of these guys with like a ton of cornucopia of home runs to start the season.
Yeah, I mean, and they're hitting and they're getting on base. They're just doing everything you want to see them do. It's great. I'll finish this off with Noah Cameron. He's just a guy, if you followed me at all, crafty lefty. I think that if the Royals rotation is looking okay to start this year, but if a couple injuries start popping up and they find themselves in trouble, you're going to see Noah Cameron like real quick. He's going to pop up, and we'll see what happens. So far, he's kind of picking up where he left off, roughly a 10K 9 in AAA and slightly higher walks than usual, but still 3 walks per 9. In 16 innings, he logs innings, and he's just a guy who gets the job done. 1.65 ERA so far at AAA. So that'll play. That's a nice surface level stat for you. Looks sexy. And so, Noah Cameron is someone where, he's not a flamethrower, but his velocity was up a little bit this spring. I remember it made headlines for a second. That might have just been a spring jump. He was ready to rumble, or maybe it's a sustained thing moving forward. We're going to find out, but it doesn't really matter because he's got a deep arsenal. He's got curveball, changeup. In addition to his fastball, I could have sworn he has a fourth pitch too, but
He's got a cutter and a slider.
Yeah, he added that cutter was a big thing. I think the cutter really helped him out.
Yeah, it's just a bridge pitch between the slider and the fastball, but he hasn't been really throwing the slider. But the change ball and the curveball are both plus breaking pitches. You can see on the chart, his changeup right now has a 28% swing strike rate basically on the season, which is insane. And his curveball has a 17% swing strike rate, 39% CSW. So those are both playing up as like plus pitches. Those are probably both like 65 pitches if that is maintained, those types of swing strike rates.
Yeah, you just watch his curveball. His curveball is electric. It's so fun.
Yeah. And like, even if the fastball is just like average, like if you have 2+ pitches to play against the curveball, or I mean, against the fastball, and you're not predictable as a pitcher, you're going to be good. So you don't need, not everybody needs to throw 99. Not everybody has to be Bubba Chandler to have success. Like, you can have success via different avenues. And +2 breaking pitches is a good place to begin, especially that's in AAA. This ain't an A-ball like some of these other guys we've been talking about. He's putting up these numbers in AAA. All right. So Doc didn't even have anything to add on that one. So we're that means it's time to go night. So we're gonna call this podcast at this mark. Again, we're hitting consistently an hour and 15. We're gonna try to get closer to an hour. Hour 15 is not bad though. So anyway, you can find Doc at his new X handle at Doc Eisenhauer. No, at Doc Eisenhauer. So check him out at the new Twitter handle. Give him a follow. The podcast name is changing, or is still keeping it Dynasty Dingers?
It's still Dynasty Dingers for now.
I saw you post that you did the last pod, and it confused the crap out of me. So
yeah, we're just trying to keep people on their toes.
Yeah. Now you got to call it Duck Dynasty Dingers for your next episode, just because of the the Huckleberries.
The Huckleberry.
So that's Doc. You can follow him on the X, and then you could follow me at Fantasy Aceball. Check out this podcast also on the YouTube at the Tim Kanak if you want to watch us and look at the pretty pictures and the charts and the videos that are popping up to go along with our commentary. And until next time, we will see you. Thanks for listening. Peace out, everybody.